SWFA is in a bit of a renaissance period right now. To give you some backstory, about a year or two ago, they said, we're going to focus on our own brand and forget everybody else. And that's exactly what they have done. The first product to market is their Gen 2 fixed-powered series of classic rifle scopes, which was welcomed by the community with open arms. They kept the same great things that we loved about the Gen 1s, but improved upon it with some of the things that we critiqued about it. So it's nice to know that SWFA is listening to all of you. And while we're on the subject of them listening to the community, they opted to bring out a brand new set of binoculars. The A1x are a Filipino-made set of binoculars, but they're going to be coming in at a fairly low price point. These are brand new to market and also come with a really nice, smartly developed carrying case that SWFA had built for them custom. That is all you get inside the box. This is what is so sweet about it. Genuine leather, SWFA obviously embossed on the back, and you have a chest harness that will quickly attach and detach to your binocular case. Might as well talk about this first before we even look at the binoculars, because if you want to have your binoculars handy but not out and exposed to the elements, something like this is a great way of doing exactly that. They also spent a fair amount of time developing this because this is how it would sit against your chest. The zippers open up like so, and you can deploy your binoculars without having to worry about anything falling on the floor. Inside the case, these little tail ends will go through these anchor points here and allow you to hook the binoculars up to the chest rig itself. So this way, you could opt to leave them exposed if you so choose. Very nice to see that this comes included. As far as the binos themselves, they have covers for the front and rear lenses, which is great. And they also feel very lightweight despite their size. On the box, it claims mid-20s. On my scale, it comes in at 23.1 ounces. And just to put it against something else that I can compare, binocular-wise, is SWFA's HD series, which, yes, they're coming a little bit lighter, but they're also a fair amount smaller, but more expensive. These are, I believe, $400, but these two are slightly different use cases. More on that later. The caps themselves have little anchor points, so this way you could attach these to your straps so you don't lose them in the field, but still keep your lenses safe when you're not using them. As far as the binoculars themselves, again, these are made in the Philippines. You could see it right there on the inside. I actually like a lot of Filipino-made stuff. I feel that their price and performance sort of gel right at the middle. It's a really nice sweet point. As far as all the touch points on this, we do have extending eye cups at the rear. So if you are not wearing glasses of some sort, you can get these right up to your eye, which is very nice as far as keeping light out of your eyes. We do have an adjustable diopter piece back here, which has a fairly short throw, but it feels pretty good. I like the texturing on the outside of this. It allows you to get a decent purchase on there without having to worry about slipping off, but it doesn't seem too aggressive that's just going to snag on something and adjust. Negative, positive, and smack dab in the middle. The only other key areas that we could talk about is the articulating hinge in the middle, which is very well damped, pretty hard, but not impossible to adjust, which is good because the last thing you want to do is have this come up and slowly droop down. You want to have it go exactly where your eyes are and stay there until you deem otherwise. As far as our actual focus knob itself, you could see it spins around the center lug, which is really nice. And we have, I'd say, probably about 2 turns lock to lock. Very smooth and easy to turn. Rubberized coating on this makes it easy to adjust. Even if your hands are cold or wet, you shouldn't lose too much traction on this. This rubberized coating on the outside feels really good in hand. Again, it's not going to be too cold on your hands if it's really cold outside, as opposed to exposed aluminum, let's say. And the overall fit and finish of everything seems quite high. I have nothing to really complain about. Front lenses on this thing are quite large, but these look like a really nice high quality set of binos that I'm really trying to wonder, how am I actually going to film through? I don't want to just tell you about these binoculars. I want you to actually see these binoculars. So with that, let me get cracking and see just how I can do this. So here we are under my deck, because I couldn't be on top of my deck because it's way too bright out and everything would have been washed out and would have just been shadows. So here I have the carrying case and the shoulder strap. Oh yeah, doing it. Right out of the box, fit me perfectly fine. There's plenty of adjustment on this if you are a larger or smaller person. And quite frankly, this is in a very comfortable position. Really can't complain too much. Open up the zippers, exposes the binoculars inside. Simply pull them out. And when you're done, you put them back in. Beautiful. There's even a little bit of a little flap inside. You could put, I don't know if you want to put your keys in there, but put your phone probably and your wallet. So it's nice to have a bag that'll carry a lot of your stuff that already comes part of the kit. If you don't want to use the bag, it's very simple to just disconnect this. That's how my son calls this, is this. Lock these two in place. Now you have your binoculars out and ready at all times. So first, going to see how these actually perform using glasses, or sunglasses in this case. Eye cups have to be all the way down. If they're extended, you're not going to have the proper eye relief. Binoculars are really notorious for having a short eye relief typically, so keep that in mind. But real quick, up to a set of sunglasses, I would say it'll definitely work, but not my personal favorite. Whenever I'm running binoculars, which isn't all that often, but has happened in the past, I always prefer taking any of my glasses or sunglasses off, because I always found I had a more stable position with the eye cups actually touching around my eye sockets, as well as just having a better view through the binoculars or the spotting scope. So for anyone that doesn't know how to set up a pair of binoculars, you have two eyes, two eyepieces, only one focus for your right eye. What we're going to do is I'm going to pull the binoculars up, close my right eye, adjust this to my left eye, then open my right eye and adjust this so my right eye is clear. Then I'm going to pull them down, blink a few times, focus at as far as I can, let my eyes reset, and then pull the binoculars up. And then if I need to tweak anything, I'll then tweak it. Don't get lost in going left eye, left eye, right eye. You have to give your eyes a break and let them relax, because you could focus something really close. It might take a second or two for your eye to relax and get the proper focus. So let's see how hard these are going to be to get where I need them. Oh, that's perfect as far as positioning goes. I'm going to close my right eye, focus on my 75-ish yard target. Good. Right eye is blurry. That looks pretty good. And right around the 0 mark, which is roughly where I need to be. I didn't set these up from being up on the bench, just pulled them out, and here we go. Focus, get back on them. See, my right eye needed to be tweaked a little bit. Repeat this process until everything is perfect. And there we are. So it took a couple of times to get this perfect, but I cannot stress the importance of getting this perfect from the beginning. Set yourself up right now, and you'll never have a problem with them in the future, not in the past. If you are worried about the diopter being knocked out of adjustment, take a marker, a pen, a knife, scribe a line between the body of the binocular and the diopter ring. So this way you have a quick reference point. So let's say you're like, you get behind, you're like, something's not right. You look, oh, okay, and you tweak it accordingly. This way you don't have to ever think about it. It's always set. And then all you have to do is adjust your course focus and focus on whatever distance that you're trying to look at. As far as my now initial impressions of these binoculars, we're going to be focusing our attention, or my attention, at my 75-ish yard target. I have an eye chart on the left, which is perfect for this. I can read the numbers from 1 to 11 very easily. Numbers are about an inch high. I could probably read the smallest line, but the problem is I'm too shaky and jittery right now from fasting and having too much coffee. So not the most stable position. And that's one thing I want to talk about with this pair of binoculars later, but that'll be for later. If I lean up against the side of my house, maybe I can get a little bit more stability. Line number 7. I can at least count all of the letters that are in the smallest line, which is impressive. The colorway looks beautiful, and my tracking target also looks beautiful. Zero chromatic aberration so far. It's a very bright sunny day, so we're going to have some high contrast areas which will usually exacerbate chromatic aberration. So I'll be curious to see if that actually creeps in. But panning through my backyard, fairly flat looking image. I can't say I see much distortion. I think there's a little bit towards the outside edge, but you'll never notice that unless you're really looking for it. Ooh, a robin. That robin's probably about 80-ish yards away. See it perfectly. Binoculars are a multi-use tool. They're not just for precision shooting. They're also for bird watching. They're for just going out and seeing the vistas of the world. That's why these aren't technically touted as tactical binoculars. And I'm actually kind of happy about that. Coming in at a lower price point from their HD series, it's going to hit a broader audience, especially with the harness and the case. This is comfortable. I can wear this all day long, and I have enough slack in this that I could wear this over a jacket if I so choose. Really nice. Initial impressions on this thing are very high. Typically from the binoculars that I've gotten behind or the spotting scopes in the past, eye relief is always a challenge, as opposed to a rifle scope where the eye relief is set to be farther away so you don't get scope bite. Binoculars and spotting scopes try to maximize the field of view, and thus you have a much shorter eye relief. These literally have to be, I'd say, about a ½ inch from your eye. If you tried that with a rifle scope, you're gonna get hit in the face with your scope under recoil, unless you're shooting an ACOG, in which case you're sort of familiar with that. I really wanted to capture my initial impressions on these binoculars for you because I don't know what to really think about binoculars. You know, this is my first real binocular review, and I'm really excited to see what the future is going to hold. But if you're worried about these things not focusing closely, I'm focusing on some weeds that are like 6 yards away. It's incredible how close these things can focus. Another really nice thing about binoculars as opposed to a spotting scope or a rifle scope is depth of field. Because you're using both eyes and you have 2 lenses, like our normal eyes are, you're able to get a much greater sense of where something is in relation to everything else around it. That's another reason why even long-range precision shooters will typically run binoculars, because you're able to differentiate between targets at very close proximity to one another. But going from this 6-ish yard weed out to as far as I can go, it requires most of the travel of the focus ring. But I mean, like, these are really nice. Focusing as far as I can on the horizon, I see a little bit of clear blue sky way off, and there's a couple of tree trunks in between. I do see a touch of purple fringing on the far edge, but I mean, it's so minimal, I don't think you won't notice it unless you're really paying attention for it. It's not a distraction in the slightest. As far as initial setup with getting the width perfect for my eyes, 0 issues. As long as you're looking through the binocular and not looking around the binocular, you won't have to worry about hitting off to the shadows, which is something I was kind of worried about because these are 10x, and 10x is pretty high for some set of binoculars, but I don't see that being an issue. As long as you're looking through them, you won't have to worry about constantly hitting that black edge and losing sight through the binoculars. Wow, these are impressive. Don't mind me, folks. I'm just going to be staring off into oblivion. These are really good. This is still just my initial impressions video. I'm going to put these out in the field. I'm going to try them in different environments. I'm going to try to record through them because that's what my channel is known for. But right off the bat, these are fantastic. Jumping headfirst into Bino reviews is an interesting experience so far. We're going to start off with the image stability and a slight eye box test. There's no real way for me to really showcase it in a way that's really going to have it grasp your imagination. But shifting the camera side to side off axis, this pair of binoculars is perfect. There's no image sharpness loss or focus loss whatsoever. As far as eye relief, it's extremely sensitive to how far away from the lens your eye has to be in order to use them properly. But that goes for any sort of binocular and or spotting scope. I do feel that the image stability section of this test is going to be far more important than eye relief, given that fact. And on that note, these binoculars perform flawlessly. One area that you might be using your binoculars for is bird watching. I usually have a plethora of wildlife in my backyard, but it took me about 45 minutes to an hour to find this one little sparrow hanging out in one of these trees. I don't understand it. I have groundhogs, I have deer, I have squirrels, I have hawks, I have bald eagles that fly overhead sometimes, and I couldn't find anything cool other than this little guy just floating around the trees. We're around 35 yards away from this bird when I was filming this, and the image quality on this set of binos is flat out spectacular. Coloring also seems absolutely accurate to real life, and I can really note no flaws that I could really find so far. We are going to be testing that out further, but right off the bat, right out of the gate, these things really impress me on many, many different fronts. Just look at how good everything looks here. It's like we're right on top of it, using a very expensive camera to capture this for a National Geographic video, but yet we're in my backyard. But you might be using your binos to stretch out past 35 yards looking at sparrows. You might be looking for much larger targets at much greater distances. So let's go push these to our maximum range of around 2,000 or so yards. But we're going to start out here on this center solar panel at about 350-ish yards. Everything looks exceptional on the center. The outside edge does have a little bit of blurring to it, but keep in mind, folks, that these also have a very narrow depth of field when you are focusing on a particular target with varying distances around it, such as what we have right here. Also, keep in mind that despite how rigid my setup is, getting the lens perfect to the camera, or I should say the rear lens of the binos perfect with the front lens of my camera, is still really, really, really tricky. So I might have them 99, 98, 96% where they need to be, and that slight difference could alter the outside edge of the view looking through this. I'm only really mentioning that in case someone does pick up in the comments and go, oh, wow, that section doesn't look as good as this section, and that section doesn't look as good as that section. There's always going to be some sort of deviation. Always. Especially when I'm reviewing multiple optics at the same time. This pair of binoculars is one of 3 optics that I was filming on this sort of week. So keep that in mind as well. As far as what we are seeing here, man, does that look really good. Easily see the mirage in the air. All of those towers actually look really good. The farther out we set our focus, the deeper the depth of field seems to get, which does make sense. The closer you are to something with higher magnification, the more blurry the outside focus sections will be, whereas the farther out you go, the sharper it's going to look for longer. Picture this bush that's probably about 15 or so yards in front of us. Everything right behind it is blurry, versus if we were looking back out at 2,000 yards, everything is mostly clear up until you get to a significant standoff difference of about 1,000 yards closer. Basically, the closer you're going to be focusing on something, the shallower the depth of field. The farther away you're going to be focusing on something, the deeper the depth of field. With a fast pan to the right, I just want to see how these woods look through binoculars. Oh man. There's something about a really nice set of binoculars where you have this massive view looking through them and a massive field of view, and it really just makes everything seem so alive. It brings so much character and life to even just a little bush like this just out in the open. It's wild how nice they could be. I now turn towards the sun to focus on these reeds to see if the sun directly hitting the front lens is going to give us some weird sort of artifacts. The coating on these lenses seem really good because despite the fact that the sun is hitting the front lens, there's nothing that really distorts or destroys the image. Everything still looks absolutely fantastic. These reeds are probably about 90 or so yards away, and it feels like you could just reach out and touch them. There's something about looking through these binoculars that really just bring a sense of cinematography to everything. It just makes everything look really good. Now, if you are planning on hunting, odds are you're going to be looking for game during the twilight hours. This is late afternoon, the sun has already dipped down past the horizon, and we've already lost a lot of brightness downrange. We're focusing, of course, on our 81-ish yard paper targets. This way we have a good sense of how well these things will be able to pick up resolution, clarity, and contrast at something that is a standard target. This way, nothing that's got too many variables to it. However, if you want to see variability, everything around the target is a perfect case point of just how crazy things can be. There's only about 30 seconds difference between the video that we were just looking at and this video, just so I can get the binoculars set up and squared up perfectly. Basically, no loss of brightness outside as far as the sun dipping down past the horizon even further. But what we're seeing here is a slightly darker looking image. However, we're focused on a much smaller, darker area as opposed to the last image that was much wider and more full of light. So this will inherently appear a little bit darker than what we were looking at previously. Regardless to that, looking at our targets, you can see a lot of fine details there despite the failing light. As far as our colors and contrast, everything looks really good, and I'm able to differentiate between multiple different bushes and depths and distances quite easily. Now, these are a 42mm front objective. From quick searching on EuroOptic.com, they do offer binoculars with much larger front objectives and even much smaller front objectives. It all depends on what your general purpose use is. If you are going to be focusing more on lower light binocular usage, maybe go with something with a much larger front objective that should allow more light in and thus give you a brighter image. I'm not, however, disappointed with the performance of this thing in lower light environments. I felt it was still quite easy to get behind, and everything looked very accurate to what I was seeing with the naked eye. So, despite that this isn't necessarily the best possible set of binoculars out there for lower light environments, I really don't think that you could get much more, especially for the price. Another thing I noticed with using these binoculars in lower light environments as opposed to magnified rifle scopes is that despite how much darker it got outside, I didn't have any sort of weird shadowy effect coming out of the scope hitting my eye. Primarily because the exit pupil coming out of binoculars at least appears much larger than it does in most rifle scopes, especially at higher magnifications, simply because of how these are set up. Again, though, you really have to be perfect with your eye relief. But once you get that perfect, like you would on any sort of magnified optic, these performed flawlessly. If you do plan on using these to go hunting, odds are you might have to go shoot in the rain. And how well do these look when it is pouring rain outside? I was blessed to have it absolutely come down for about 2 hours just the other day, and I was able to capture this footage. I was very impressed by how it was able to look past the rain to focus on a target at greater distances. Of course, my 81-yard paper target here looks absolutely fantastic when I dial in the focus to focus on that. And the rain only looks like some light mirage. It doesn't even look obtrusive at all. So these look exceptionally good in heavy rain. I was half expecting them to just be a little bit messy, a little bit muddy, but the exact opposite occurred. It looked like it just wasn't even raining at all, despite how heavy that rain on that river is. Just look at how good that water looks. Man, these things are impressive. I panned very quickly across my backyard just to show you the contrast in these conditions against varying debris and leaves and trees and dead branches and whatnot. And I have to say, I think it still performs extremely, extremely well. It just wouldn't be one of my reviews unless I did a side-by-side comparison. The only other set of binoculars that I have, I already showcased, which are the HD version of the SWFA's 12x32s. These are much more tactically set up because there is a milling reticle on the left eyepiece, and that is what you're looking at right now. These were both filmed on the same day within about 15 or so minutes from one another. Very clearly, the HD has much better looking colors and contrast. Now, as far as the price difference, there's $100 between the two. The HDs are also a little bit smaller, a little bit lighter, but they are much harder to get behind. Combination of more magnification in a smaller body, smaller front objective, means that getting behind them is very challenging by comparison to the A1Xs. Cropping the image, you can see what I'm talking about. The image on the HDs is just a little bit sharper, a little bit more crisp, a little bit nicer and richer than what we see with the A1Xs. But again, they're $100 more expensive, but they are smaller and they are lighter, but they're also much harder to get behind. I'll showcase that more in the HD review when that's going to be coming up, probably another couple of weeks, because I have a lot of testing I need to do with those. I actually got them first, but they asked if I can get the A1Xs out sooner because those are going to be releasing soon. As far as I know, I'm the only one in the country to have the A1Xs for review, but more on that soon. Another thing to note with the HDs, those are made in Japan versus the A1Xs, which are made in the Philippines. So there are a couple of very large differences between these two binoculars, but mostly it comes down to their usability one to the other. The A1Xs are much easier to get behind and focus on a target, whereas the HDs are much more sensitive to where you're focusing them to. And as far as image stability off center, the HDs are nowhere near as forgiving as with the A1Xs. So both of them fit a bit of a different role, in my opinion. As for the $100, which way would I go? Honestly, I think the A1Xs might be a little bit better of a purchase. You can expect a full review coming for those HDs in the next couple of weeks, like I already mentioned. I will be doing a much more in-depth side-by-side between those and these A1Xs, but I wanted to get this review out into the world so this way I could cement how I'm going to be doing binocular testing for the foreseeable future. The HDs are a very nicely made set of binoculars, but I'm a big fan of ease and comfort of use. And the A1Xs are very easy to use and very comfortable to use once you get them set up properly. I really do like these A1Xs. I like how they feel. I like the fit and finish. I like the price point. I like that they're made in the Philippines. I love the carrying case, and I love the chest harness. I like everything about them. And with all this information out there, I would absolutely recommend them. I love SWFA as a company. I think they build great products and have great customer service and have great everything. That's why I love doing their stuff. And when they asked me to do a review on these, I was jumping through hoops for that one. But there's still something that needs to be talked about, and that is the absolute plethora of different binoculars from different manufacturers. I cannot believe how many 10x binoculars are out there in this price point, or way cheaper than these, or way more expensive than these. This set of binoculars, this review has opened my eyes to a completely different realm of optics, and I'm very grateful for that. But I'm overwhelmed. Doing rifle scopes for the last 7 or so years, I finally felt like I got into a good groove, and I understand what's out there in the market, and I can navigate that really well. But with binoculars, it's like, there's how many hundred on Euro Optic that are 10Xs? Like, holy cow. It's crazy. So are these the best, but for the best, like out there on the planet? I can't say that for sure. What could I recommend other than these? Again, I can't say that for sure. If you have good experience with binoculars, I really want your opinion in the comment section below. I want you to tell me and tell others what your thoughts are and on my findings for these binoculars. Do you notice any differences with other binoculars that you have used or you've owned or maybe you've reviewed? I really want to make this be the best possible video for any possible buyer out there, because I really do think that these are excellent. And as far as a starting point, I really couldn't ask for much more. I already said the comparison between these and the HDs. The HDs have a slightly better looking image, better colors, better contrast, better overall feel and fit and finish, but not by a massive amount. But the image stability on those is lacking by comparison to these. So there are going to be some give and takes everywhere, and that's, pretty self-explanatory and expected. But what are your thoughts on my findings on this set of binoculars? Do you have similar experiences with another set of binoculars like this? And what are your thoughts? Subsequently, let me know what you would like to see in one of these reviews. I would like to do some drop testing, some water testing, but I don't want to destroy binoculars. But if you're going to drop them accidentally from 2 or 3 feet, like, are they going to survive? That's definitely in the cards, but only for binoculars that I'm going to be owning, whether they're being given to me, like these were by SWFA to do the review and then to keep them, or I buy them with my own money. But I'm not going to do that with a viewer submitted set of binoculars. So it's really sort of challenging in that department. Overall, though, I'm very satisfied with these binoculars. And I'm not just saying that because SWFA gave them to me. I'm very satisfied with how these things perform. I love everything about them. And I really can't imagine a better set of binoculars for the price. But man, oh man, I cannot wait to find out and let all of you know when I do so. And with all that being said, a very huge thank you to SWFA for trusting me to get the first review out for these binoculars. These are new to market. They haven't been listed yet, but all the information is going to be in the comment section below as well as the description. So be sure to check that out. SWFA also told me that they might be running a limited time discount code like they did with their Gen 2 fixed powered. So check that out. They only ran it for a few months just to help get the product out there to people who are on the fence of whether they're going to buy it or not. And 10% is ultimately a lot of money. So once again, a huge thank you to SWFA, but a huge thank you for all of you, because it's because of you people at home, at work, in the car ride home, wherever you might be, that I still do these reviews. But man, oh man, I love getting my hands on something that I actually really enjoy. And these binoculars are one such example of a product that I plan on using the ever-loving crap out of. Hopefully the HDs will warm up to me, but I already know that the image stability on those is going to frustrate me, especially considering how tight the eye boxes are on basically all binoculars out there. But again, if you have any experiences with binoculars, please let me know and let other people know in the comment section below how you feel these stack up or what would be a good comparison against these. I'm genuinely curious myself as well. And that's it. Thank you all very much for watching. As always, I'll see you again next time. And a huge thank you to my Patreon providers and my Subscribe Star subscribers. Without you, this truly wouldn't be possible. If you'd like to support my channel but don't want to join either of those, I completely understand. But you could still help by using my affiliate links in the description below, and or like, share, and subscribe as always. Again, thank you very much.